Now, test of significance. We will learn about these points. So, confidence intervals are one of the two most common types of statistical inference. And use a confidence interval when your goal is to estimate a population parameter, like we are using for getting population parameter, that was the mean mu. And the second common type of inference called test of significance and has a different goal. It has to assess evidence in the data about some claim concerning a population. And keep this point in mind, that claim concerning a population. A test of significance is a formal procedure for comparing observed data with a claim, and that is also called as hypothesis, whose truth we want to assess. The claim is a statement about a parameter such as the population proportion P or the population mean mu. We express the results of a significance test in terms of a probability called the p-value, which measures how well the data and the claim agree. So here's the reasoning of test of significance. And suppose a basketball player claimed to be an 80% free throw shooter. To test this claim, we have him attempt 50 free throws. He makes 32 of them. His sample proportion of made shot is 32 divided by 50, that is 0.64. What can we conclude about the claim based on the sample data? We can use software to simulate 400 sets of 50 shots each on the assumption that player is an 80% free throw shooter. And you can see how strong the evidence against the player's claim is by giving the probability that he would make as few as 30 out of 50 free throws if he really makes 80% in the long run. Assuming that the actual parameter value is P is equal to 0.80, the observed statistics is so unlikely that it gives convincing evidence that the player's claim is not true. We will understand it in more details in later slides. So, stating hypothesis, it's a significance test. It starts with a careful statement of the claim we want to compare. So, the claim tested by a statistical test is called the null hypothesis. The test is designed to assess the strength of the evidence against the null hypothesis. Often the null hypothesis is the statement of no effect or no difference in the true means. The claim about the population for which we are trying to find evidence is the alternative hypothesis, which is represented as HA. Null hypothesis is represented by H0 or H0. The alternative is one-sided if it states either that a parameter is larger than the null hypothesis or smaller than the null hypothesis. It is so two-sided if it states that the parameter is different from the null value. If the free throw shooter example, let P be the true long run proportion of made free throws, and suppose our hypotheses are H0, it is that proportion is equal to 0.80, and alternative hypothesis is stating probability less than 0.80. So our alternative hypothesis is one-sided hypothesis. What we are saying about the one-sided alternative, we will understand it in later slides. So here in the given example, we can see when alternative hypothesis is stating that population parameter mu either greater than or smaller than the given value, then it is one-sided test, as we can see in these examples. But when it's stating that is not equal to a given value, then it is two-sided test. So here is an example. Does the job satisfaction of assembly line workers differ when their work is machine-paced rather than self-paced? One study chose 18 subjects at random from a company with over 200 workers who assembled electronic devices. Half of the workers were assigned at random to each of the two groups. Both groups did similar assembly work, but one group was allowed to pace itself while the other group used an assembly line that moved at a fixed pace. After 2 weeks, all the workers took a test of job satisfaction. Then they switched work setups and took the test again after 2 more weeks. The response variable is the difference in satisfaction scores. Self-paced minus machine-paced. So the parameter of interest is the mean mu of the difference, that is self-paced minus machine-paced, in job satisfaction scores in the population of all assembly line workers at this company. So state appropriate hypothesis for performing a significance test. So because the initial question asked whether job satisfaction differs, alternative hypothesis is two-sided. That is, either it is less than 0 or greater than 0. For simplicity, we can write it as it is not equal to 0. That is, if null hypothesis stating that population parameter mu is equal to 0, alternative hypothesis is stating that it is not equal to 0. So test a statistic. A test of significance is based on a statistics that estimates the parameter that appears in the hypothesis. When null hypothesis is true, we expect that the estimate to be near the parameter value specified in null hypothesis. Value of the estimate far from the parameter value specified by null hypothesis give evidence against null hypothesis. We will understand all these points in more details later. And here a test statistics calculated from the sample data measures how far the data diverges from what we would expect if the null hypothesis were true. It's test statistics. Here we are using z, and z is equal to estimate minus hypothesized value divided by standard deviation of the estimate. Large values of the statistics show that the data are not consistent with null hypothesis. And normally we use test statistics to calculate the p-value. So null hypothesis, H naught states that the claim we seek to disprove. Because it's common, and null hypothesis is given and alternate hypothesis is your hypothesis you are going to do the experiment for. So null hypothesis we use, that is the claim we seek to disapprove. And the probability that measures the strength of the evidence against a null hypothesis is called a p-value. So the probability computed assuming H naught is true, that the statistics would take a value as or more extreme than the one actually observed, is called the p-value of the test. The smaller the p-value, stronger the evidence against H naught. Smaller p-values are evidence against H naught because they say that the observed result is unlikely to occur when H naught is true. Larger p-values fail to give convincing evidence against H naught because they say that the observed result is likely to occur by chance when H naught is not true. So the final step in performing a significance test is to draw a conclusion. So about the competing claims you were testing. We will make one of the two decisions based on the strength of the evidence against the null hypothesis. And in favor of the alternative hypothesis, we say either we can say reject null hypothesis or fail to reject null hypothesis. If you are going to favor alternative hypothesis, we are going to say we reject null hypothesis. And if you are not able to say that, then you will say fail to reject null hypothesis. We are not going to give conclusion that we reject alternate hypothesis or we fail to reject alternate hypothesis. So if our sample result is too unlikely to have happened by chance, assuming H naught is true, then we will reject null hypothesis. Otherwise, we will fail to reject null hypothesis. And these all things are we will see by mathematical values. So right now it seems like we are just talking about some concept. This is the concept, but we will see by different examples how we reject null hypothesis and how we fail to reject null hypothesis. So fail to reject, that is null hypothesis decision in a significance test does not mean that H naught is true. For that reason, you should never accept null hypothesis or use language implying that you believe H naught is true. That is the reason we use only these two conclusions, because we cannot say we accept null hypothesis, because it does if you are failed to reject null hypothesis, it does not mean that it is true. In a nutshell, our conclusion in a significance test comes down to we will get p-value if it's we will get the p-value that is small, we will reject null hypothesis and conclude for null alternate hypothesis. And if p-value is large, we are failed to reject null hypothesis and cannot conclude null alternate hypothesis. So there's no ironclad rule for how a small a p-value should be in order to reject null hypothesis. It is a matter of judgment and depends on the specific circumstances. But we can compare the p-value with the fixed value that we regard as decisive, called the significance label. We write it as alpha, that is the Greek letter alpha. When our p-value is less than chosen alpha, we say that the result is statistically significant. If the p-value is smaller than alpha, we say that the data are statistically significant at level alpha. The quantity alpha is called the significance level or level of significance. So now we can conclude it. When we use a fixed level of significance to draw a conclusion in a significance test, p-value that is less than alpha, we reject null hypothesis. If for example you're talking about the 95% confidence interval, so your alpha for one-sided test, it is 0.05, and if your p-value is less than 0.05, if you got something like 0.02, then you will say that we reject the null hypothesis. But if it's opposite, that is if you are going to get something like 0.6 or 0.3, then we will say that that is greater than or equal to alpha and fail to reject null hypothesis and cannot conclude alternate hypothesis. So now here are the 4 steps of test of significance, and in 4 steps, first is the state the null and alternate hypothesis. So null hypothesis is commonly the accepted fact, while researchers come up with alternate hypothesis that they think explains the phenomena, and then they work to reject the null hypothesis. Here we can understand that null, it doesn't mean there is nothing. Null, here we are normally using this term. This means it's commonly accepted fact that researchers work to nullify. After that, we calculate the value of test statistic and find the p-value for the observed data, and then lastly we state a conclusion. We will learn the details of many tests of significance in the following chapters. The proper test statistics is determined by the hypothesis and the data collection design. So other statistics are like t statistics, f statistics, and chi-square statistics. But right now we are just learning about the z statistics. And in later chapters, we will learn about others one too. So here test for population mean, z test for a population mean, as we can see, draw an SRS of size n from a normal population that has unknown mean mu and known standard deviation sigma to test the null hypothesis that mu has a specified value. Calculate the one sample z statistic. So it would be z is equal to x bar minus mu naught, that is this value, divided by sigma by root n. And in terms of variable z having the standard normal distribution, the p-value of a test of h naught against. So here we are doing different things. These two are one-sided and this is two-sided. So for one-sided there are two conditions. Either it could be on right tail or it can be on left tail. So for alternate hypothesis, mu is greater than mu naught is probability of random variable z greater than or equal to value z. Similarly, mu smaller than mu naught is probability random variable smaller than or equal to z. And similarly, we can see here for the two-sided, mu is not equal to mu naught, and now probability is 2p, random variable z is equal to and greater than mod z, or we can say its absolute value of z. Now, when in the book we are going to go with this rule, but normally what happens if it is two-sided, either you can do whatever you are going to take the significance label, like if your significance label is 0.05, for two-sided you will divide it and it would be 0.025 here and 0.025 there. But here it's saying either you can do this thing, but here it's suggesting that what p value you calculate, you can double it and then can compare it with 0.05 significance level. So I think this is clear now. So here is the example, and it's saying that of all of the individuals who develop a certain rash, suppose the mean recovery time for individuals who do not use any form of treatment is 30 days, with standard deviation equal to 8. A pharmaceutical company manufacturing a certain cream wishes to determine whether the cream shortens, extends, or has no effect on the recovery time. The company chooses a random sample of 100 individuals who have used the cream and determines that the mean recovery time for these individuals was 28.5 days. Does the cream have any effect? So we will understand this. Since the pharmaceutical company is interested in any difference from the mean recovery time for all individuals, alternative hypothesis is two-sided. Null hypothesis is mu is equal to 30, alternate hypothesis is mu is not equal to 30. The test statistics, as we have already seen the formula, we will keep all the values in that formula, and we got the value minus 1.875. We earlier have seen that for alternate hypothesis, if it's two-sided, we use this formula. So we can see that p-value for test statistics is this, and from this we got the value 0.0614, and our significance level is 0.05, and 0.0614, this number is larger than 0.05. So we will say that we fail to reject the null hypothesis. And what is the confidence level here? To get the confidence level, we subtract this value from 1. So 1 minus 0.05 is 0.95. So confidence level is 95%. But if we changed our significance level to 0.1, then we will say, because now its value is 0.1, so it's this number is smaller than 0.1. So we will say that this is significant at 0.1 level, and we reject the null hypothesis. But right now here we are using the alpha value 0.05, so we concluded we failed to reject the null hypothesis. Now we will see one more example. Suppose a test has been given to all high school students in a certain state. The mean test score for the entire state is 70. With standard deviation equal to 10, members of the school board suspect that female students have higher mean score on the test than male students, because the mean score from a random sample of 64 female students is equal to 73. Does this provide a strong evidence that the overall mean for female student is higher? So null hypothesis is mu is equal to 70, alternate hypothesis is mu is greater than 70. So it is one-sided. In the test score example, where the sample mean equals 73 and the population standard deviation is equal to 10, the test statistics is equal to as follows. So z is equal to 2.4. Since this is a one-sided test, the p-value is equal to the probability that of observing a value greater than 2.4 in the standard normal distribution, and we got the value 0.0082, and this is smaller than the value 0.05. So this this is significant and hence we can reject the null hypothesis. So more about p-values. A significance test can be done in black and white manner. We reject null hypothesis if p is smaller than alpha, otherwise we do not reject null hypothesis. Reporting the p-value is better way to summarize a test than simply stating whether or not null hypothesis is rejected. This is because p quantifies how strong the evidence is against null hypothesis. The smaller value of p, the greater the evidence. On the other hand, p does not provide specific information about the true population mean. If you desire a likely range of values for the parameter, use a confidence interval. Statistics in practice use technology to get p-values quickly and accurately. In the absence of suitable technology, you can get approximate p-values by comparing your test statistics with critical value from a table. The example on the next slide shows how this works. So now approximating a p-value. Suppose the hypothesis is mu is equal to, null hypothesis mu is equal to 0 and alternate is mu is greater than 0. And in the test statistics, z is equal to minus 0.276. Because the alternative hypothesis is mu greater than 0, the p-value is the area under the standard normal density to the right of minus 0.276. Table A gives the area to the left of specified z or critical values. By using the symmetry of the normal curve, the area of the right of minus 0.276 is equal to the area to the left of 0.276. From table A, the area to the left of 0.2.7 is 0.604 and the area to the left of 0.28 is 0.6103. Because 0.276 is between 0.27 and 0.28, the p-value is satisfied that it lies in between 0.6064, that this is p-value is greater than 0.6064 but less than 0.6103. There is no reason whatsoever in rejecting null hypothesis. In this case, this p-value is so large. It's 0.6, so it's very large. Now use and abuse of test, and we will learn about these topics. So now we have seen in earlier examples that choosing the significance level alpha is very important. So factors often considered what are the consequences of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is actually true. So what might happen if we concluded that global warming was real when it really wasn't? Suppose an innocent person was convicted of a crime. Are you conducting a preliminary study? If so, you may want a larger alpha so that you will be less likely to miss an interesting result. So in short, we can say that choosing the significance level alpha is very important, and this can be decided as per study and as per field you are working on. So some conventions are typically the standards of our field of work are used. There are no sharp cutoffs for p-values. For example, there is no practical difference between 4.9% and 5.1%. So in order to, it is the order of magnitude of the p-values that matters. So what we can say somewhat significant, significant or very significant. So if, for example, if you got your significance level is 0.05 and you got p-value is 0.049 or 0.045, that is less than 0.05, but it is somewhat significant because it is very near to 0.05. So we can reject the null hypothesis, but we should keep in the mind that this is just somewhat significant. So now the cautions. Statistical significance only says whether the effect observed is likely to be due to chance alone because of random sampling. Statistical significance may not be practically important because statistical significance does not tell you about the magnitude of the effect. It just tells you there is an effect or there is no effect. An effect could be too small to be relevant, and with a large enough sample size, a significance can be reached even for the tiniest effect. For example, a drug is found to lower patient temperature on average of 0.4 degrees Celsius. P-value is less than 0.01. But clinical benefits of temperature reduction only appear for a 1 degree or larger decreases. So it doesn't matter for 0.4 degree. Still the result is significant. Now do not ignore lack of significance. Consider this provocative title from British Medical Journal, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Having no proof that a particular suspect committed a murder does not imply that the suspect did not commit the murder. So, failing to find statistical significance in results means that the null hypothesis is not rejected. This is very different from actually accepting the null hypothesis. Therefore, we never use the term we are accepting the null hypothesis. What we say, we are rejecting the null hypothesis, or we fail to reject the null hypothesis. The sample size, for instance, could be too small to overcome large variability in the population. When comparing two populations, lack of significance does not imply that two populations are same. The populations might be different but have similar statistical properties. So, potential importance of small effects. There is no consensus of how big an effect has to be in order to be considered meaningful. In some cases, effects that may appear to be trivial can be very important. Example, improving the format of the computerized test reduces the average response time by about 2 seconds. Although this effect is very small, and it is important because this is done millions of times a year. The cumulative time saving of using the better format is gigantic. Always think about the context. Try to plot your results and compare them with a baseline or result from similar studies. So beware of searching for significance, and you cannot legitimately test a hypothesis using data that first suggested that hypothesis. When testing a large number of null hypotheses simultaneously, it can be expected that several of the tests will show significance, even when all the null hypotheses are true. The previous 2 points do not imply that exploratory data analysis is a bad thing. Exploratory analysis often leads to interesting discoveries. However, if the data at hand suggest an interesting theory, then test that theory on a new set of